Business is like football. There's always competition. You have to play hard every day. And to win, you have to be the better team. For 99 years, the Chicago BBB has championed businesses that play the right way. And tonight, we have an all-star lineup that's fired up and ready to take the field. Let's do this. The 99th anniversary dinner starts now. All great teams have a common goal. They work together and always bring their A game. That is how championships are won. And at the BBB, when we win, everybody wins. Leading by example, setting the standard, never giving up. That's how we play. Our game plan is simple, and it's undefeated. Because in the end, integrity always wins. Welcome to the Better Business Bureau's 99th Anniversary Dinner, presented by PNC.
Well, thank you, Steve, and good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you. I want to start off by first thanking Steve Burness, you and your entire team here at the BBB for your leadership and your commitment to the city and the region, helping make our communities better places to live and work, and most importantly, do business. How about a round of applause for Steve and the BBB team? As a BBB board member, I'd also be remiss if I didn't congratulate our award winners tonight. What an excellent way to recognize your accomplishments. Congratulations. We look forward to honoring you through the balance of the evening. So I have the privilege of being here on behalf of PNC Bank, a longtime presenting sponsor of the BBB. We're in our 12th year now. We're honored to be here to support this special milestone, almost a century of commitment when you think about the history of the BBB. And at PNC, we know something about commitment in the long game. We've been in business for 160 years. Building trust, sustaining integrity, and a sense of security have been important shared values for both of our organizations, and it still is. See, this event is special because it reminds us of how together we can continue to build trust as business leaders, both within our companies, our organizations, and in the marketplace. We're gathered here tonight because we all share in the mission of the BBB. We're all committed to informing and connecting our customers because it's just good business and it's vital to growth. And as I've said before when I've had opportunities to address this audience, this is truly the room where it all happens. But more importantly, it's what we do when we leave here tonight to activate where the rubber meets the road. But I'm excited to hear from somebody who not only works the room wherever he's at, but also has worked the field. What can you say about our guest speaker tonight, Dan Hampton? He's a good friend of the Better Business Bureau and still revered and loved by Chicago Bears fans around the world, and a true Chicago treasure. As the official bank of the Bears, I know that all of us at PNC are proud that 99 is here and a part of tonight's event. But to most Bears fans, he will always be remembered as a monster of the Midway who played a pivotal role in helping the Bears win Super Bowl 20 back in 1985, which by the way, this year marks 25 years since that happened, so I think it's about time we do it again. But Dan played 12 seasons with the Chicago Bears. He was a 5-time All-Pro, a 4-time Pro Bowl selection, and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2002. He married his wife, Gina, who's also here in the audience tonight, shortly thereafter, right after being enshrined into the Hall of Fame, and remains a very busy spokesperson of the BBB and also Chevrolet. I've personally had the privilege of getting to know both Dan and Gina over the last few years, and I'm thankful for their friendship. Dan also participates in golf tournaments, charities, events to help raise funds for a variety of causes to support children and those who serve our country. In addition, he's co-host of a syndicated pro football weekly television show and does a pre and post show called Hampton and OB Show on WGN Radio. Agile with tremendous reflexes and quickness, Dan Hampton earned the nickname the Danimal and possessed a unique set of skills that allowed him to penetrate the offensive line and establish himself as one of the most feared defenders of his era. You know, my father is also a retired NFL football player himself, and when I was growing up, he would always say, "Shane, you've got to play with reckless abandon. You have to be willing to sacrifice your body." Well, I think Dan Hampton set the bar on that. In fact, he might have wrote the book on it. But you don't have to take my word for it. We've got a video clip to play, which I think you're going to enjoy. Let's watch the video.
Right tackle, number 99, Dan Hampton.
And I think if we want to talk about one person tonight that might have been symbolic of the Bears' effort, there he is right there, Dan Hampton.
Dan Hampton does it again.
Number 99 is unstoppable.
This guy has been hobbled all week with a bad knee, and yet he comes out and he plays. He plays the entire ball game, and that is why the Bears are the football team that they are, because he's reflective of their work ethic, and it is one heck of a work ethic.
Please welcome Dan Hampton.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Chicago Bears legend Dan Hampton.
Wow. Hey, thank you all so much. That's great. Thank you, Shane. I didn't know you'd be putting a video together. That's pretty special. How's everyone tonight so far? Huh? Good? Great. I got to tell you, it's great watching those old films. I can see, at one time we were pretty good, and Shane, it's not 25 years since we won, it's 40, okay? He said 25. Even though next year will obviously be the 100-year anniversary of the BBB. By the way, I just want you to know I'm really proud of the Chicago Bears joining next year, Steve. The Bears, if you may have not known, they turned 100 years old as an organization back in 2019. And so for over 100 years, they didn't have their BBB accreditation. So I made a phone call to Brian McKeskey, and I said, "Brian, I'm doing some work with the BBB. They're great people. They are the gold standard when you are in business, and they're the ones that everyone looks to make sure that you know what you're doing." And I said, "If you join, that's going to be great, but I've been watching the product, and we're going to have to make some changes." And he laughed. He said, "Hey, we're trying, Dan. We're trying." But I'm going to talk a little bit about the Bears here in just a minute. But at the end of the day, Shane, thank you so much for that very kind introduction. Gina and I got to play with Shane in the wonderful group that you had from PNC this past year at the golf tournament. Ridgemore is going to come up this year. I'm going to be lobbying Steve to put us back together because we had such a good time. But again, the thing about it is we're here tonight to celebrate 99 years of excellence. And the one thing about it is, as you know, next year is going to be a big year for a lot of reasons. Yes, it'll be the 100-year BBB anniversary, but it'll also be our country's 250th year anniversary. So there's going to be an awful lot of reasons to smile about all the good things happening in these United States next year. I used to think when I got to town, BBB was Big Bad Bears, and now obviously, doing work with you guys, I know who it really means. Folks, it's been an amazing year in a lot of regards, politically, but let's talk about the Chicago Bears. You know, I got here in 1979. That's a long time ago, 46 years ago. I was so lucky, so fortunate to be drafted by this organization that I love, the Chicago Bears. And so much has changed in that period of time. The one thing that has been a constant has been the fan base. You folks, God bless you. Year after year after year, you believe, you buy the tickets, you buy into the sales of hey, this is going to be the next great year. And folks, I've got to tell you something. If I was selling tickets the last 40 years about what Chicago Bear team am I the most excited about, I'm going to give you some reasons why this could be the year. This could be the year for you to get excited. And I hear you, yes, you're saying, Dan, have you been, at the cocktail lounge a little too long? No, I've got a lot of reasons. But before I get to the Bears, let me tell you this. Part of the reason why it has been such a bizarre, crazy year was last year in the NFL draft in April, we drafted a quarterback that I know it doesn't look like it right now, but at the end of this coming year, I will promise you, you will not want to trade for anyone else in the NFL, except for maybe a couple of guys. He's going to improve and be that type of player that not only will lead this football team next year, the year after, but for the next 10 years. He's going to be a special player. You can write it down and remember that in March, before the 2025 season, that Hampton told you this is getting real interesting. The other part about it was we had a coach, unfortunately, that was in over his head, and we got into a season last year that a lot of things really went sideways, and the dysfunctional aspect of the coaching staff, was manifested when we fired the offensive coordinator, then fired the head coach for the first time ever as a Chicago Bear organization. And then sweet relief came in January, where the Bears did the right thing, and they hired the best coaching prospect, I think, of the last 5 years in Ben Johnson. And I'm telling you, nothing they have done since that day has led me to believe that we're going back around in circles. So I'm really excited about that. But I got to tell you, folks, about a month ago, the matriarch of the Chicago Bears, the wonderful Miss Virginia McKeskey, passed away. And Gina and I were able to come up to go to the service. And I got to tell you, it was a profound moment. And I was really touched by a lot of the things that I saw leading up to, the day of her funeral, and then in the, subsequent days after. But the one thing that really amazed me was, Virginia McKeskey, she was 102 years old. How many 102-year-old participants in a funeral have you ever been to? I haven't. I mean, that in itself is amazing. You know how at most funerals, they list the family members, of course, the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids. They couldn't. She had 12 children, 47 grandkids, 77 great-grandkids, and even more great-great-great-grandkids. It was an amazing service. But the one thing that really jumped out to me, and I love Virginia, she was the only McKeskey that never cussed me out, which was really a wonderful thing if you think about it. But the one thing that really always, made me feel special about being a Chicago Bear was that she was part of the footing and foundation of the man that created the NFL. And of course, we know we're talking about George Halas. And I got to tell you, so we went to the church, and Roger Goodell was there, and a bunch of my teammates, Emory Moorhead and Otis Wilson, Gary Fensick. But it was amazing to see the swath of life and the people that their lives touched. And I thought about it, a few years earlier. In 2019, the Chicago Bears asked me if I would be kind enough to come and help them commemorate the two statues of George Halas and Walter Payton that you can see at the south entrance to Soldier Field. And I was thinking about all the lives that George Halas had touched in his life. He started the league and all the different aspects that go into running an NFL team. But more importantly, they created the NFL. And much like you, we're all looking for some way to create an advantage and an opportunity in the world of business. Man, think about that. George Halas, he created the NFL 105 years ago. But we all love Miss McKeskey. She liked me on occasion because I'd tell her a joke. One of the jokes she always loved was this little kid found a purse in a shopping basket, and he ran to the front register, and there was a lady up there, older lady, that was kind of panicking. She lost her purse. Anyway, he presented her the purse. She goes, "Oh, that's wonderful. You need some kind of a reward, don't you?" And she opened her purse, and she goes, "Wait a minute. There was a $20 bill in here. Now there's 21s. And the little kid said, "Yeah, the last purse I found didn't have any singles in it either." Tough crowd tonight, aren't we? But you know what, folks? The BBB, obviously, is the entity that gives you the opportunity to trust and believe in organizations of all colors, stripes, and occupations. But you know what? When I got to Chicago, I was a 21-year-old man, and over the years of being exposed to some of the greatest competitors and the greatest coaches, greatest owners, general managers, all these different aspects, I've come up with 3 simple rules of life. And they're relatively simple, but I'll hit them real quick. Number 1, have a goal. A goal is something that will make you get up in the morning and go try to achieve something that somebody that doesn't have a goal won't even take the time to notice. Have a goal. They're nothing more than the dreams that you really have. Number 2, make yourself indispensable. When I got here, I was so lucky that some of the older players, Gary Finchie, Doug Plank, those guys, they liked me, and they kind of took me into their little circle. And they kept saying this one thing, "Hey, the more you can do, the more you can do." And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, when the coach is on the sideline and he's saying, "Hey, we need some people in here to run a drill or run a punt team," get out there. Be the first one in line. Be the guy that pretty soon they can't live without you. I try to do that with my beautiful wife. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I try to become indispensable. Do a dish, do this, take the cat litter out, do the things that not everybody expects you to do, but I try to be indispensable. So set a goal, be indispensable. And number 3, do the right thing. I know that sounds simple, but do the right thing. Mike Dicker used to have a great saying. He said, tell the truth in life. Because if you don't tell the truth, it means your word's no good. And if your word's no good, you probably aren't either. So remember that. Do the right thing. Do the right thing by telling the truth. But a couple of things that I really always believed that kind of was part of the reason why. The 1985 Chicago Bears will forever and a day be known as not only a great team, but the greatest team in NFL history. Thank you. Now, when you get home, go to your laptop and type in greatest football team ever. And I'll bet you the 1985 Bears pop up. Now, that's not something I want to just, strut around and slap my back about, but I'll tell you this. The greatest team ever. Did we have the greatest quarterback ever? No. Did we have the greatest guard ever? No. But we had the greatest team because we wanted to be a team and we came together with sacrifice. And the one thing that I always believed in, and I didn't start playing football until I was in 11th grade. I fell out of a tree when I was a kid. I spent 6 months in a wheelchair. I was lucky to walk again. And at the end of the day, when I got a chance, I said, why not me? Why can't I be great? My father had passed away when I was in 8th grade of pancreatic cancer. Times were tough. I didn't have a whole lot of opportunity. I didn't have no grandparents. I didn't have no aunts and uncles. I mean, it was just basically me and the football coach. And I said, why can't I be great? And I went to work. And I tried to be the hardest worker. I tried to be the most indispensable player. I tried to be the most positive force that I could be. Dare to be great in life. Whether you are working at a bank, whether you are driving a truck, whether you are waiting tables, whether you are making decisions for a board of some insurance, it doesn't matter. Dare to be great. Dare to be the greatest. Second thing is, as I said, that 1985 team was special for a lot of reasons. But the one thing that really jumps out at me is that we were special as a team because we had builders. We had builders. And one of the things I really like about Shane when he brought his guys out to the golf course, when I've seen him at other aspects, of events and different things, and he's a builder. He understands how important it is to give responsibility, to acknowledge when somebody has achieved certain things. But boy, I tell you what, on a football team, those are the concepts that bring a team together. And I remember Lou Holtz telling us a poem one time about how special it is to be a builder. Because if you're not a builder, then you're actually someone that isn't building, you're tearing down. Told a poem that went like this. I saw a group of men in my hometown prepare to tear a building down. They swung a beam and a sidewall fell. I asked this man as he began to yell, hey, are these men skilled, the type I would hire if I wanted to build? He laughed and said, no, indeed. Common labor's all I need, because I can tear down in a day or two what it took a skilled builder 10 years to do. Well, that team was built the right way. And it didn't start in 1985. It didn't start in 1983. It started way before then. 10 years earlier, when George Halas, at the age of 78 years old, drafted a young man out of Jackson State by the name of Walter Payton. And then everything else was built around the great Walter Payton. But the one thing is, everybody wants to talk about, oh, well, it's easy for you to say, set goals and you want to be the greatest and this and that. You're 6'5", 280 pounds, blah, blah, blah. Hey, folks, I got to tell you, everybody in life faces adversity. In every walk, in every avenue of any business, any sport, any endeavor, whether you're a school teacher, you face adversity. And a big part of being successful in life is learning to overcome adversity. It's a funny thing here. I wrote down something about, God has a sense of humor. If you want to make him laugh, tell him your plans, because it very seldom works out that way. Well, guess what? I know a little bit about overcoming adversity. Like I said, I didn't start playing until I was in 11th grade. I didn't have any real guidance. But by the time I'd gotten into the NFL, I'd broken a lot of bones. I'd had a lot of knee surgeries. I had 20 knee operations in total, including 2 replacements. I broke over 10 different bones. And the funny thing is, I found out the 3 most important bones. You know what they are? Well, the first one is the wishbone. That's right. We all need to be optimists and wish for something great. The second one, the funny bone. We all got to have a sense of humor, right? But the third one, a backbone. A backbone to stand for the right things in life and to work for the right things in life. But remember, character isn't awarded, nor is it formed by great talent or intellect. It is only created by struggle. Character is only created by struggle and suffering, and therefore it is earned. That's why you need a plan in life and not just hope. But the thing is, I remember Coach Ditka, he had some really, really great ideas about how to get a team motivated about caring about the most important things. Not about each individual, but what the team goal had to be. He had a recipe. It was called the Ditka Doctrine. And by the way, I went to see Coach about a month ago. And Gina and I saw him in Florida, he and Diana, 2 years ago. And then we had heard that he wasn't feeling good. But I went to see him about a month ago, and I'm proud to say that the coach is looking good. He's doing great. You know, obviously he's a little more sedentary than I remember, but he's 85. He's 85. When I was drafted, Hallis was 86. I mean, this is crazy. I never thought I'd get this far. I really didn't. But Ditka had a great doctrine. It is great preparation plus a positive attitude equals high performance. And you say, well, what about preparation? We all prepared. We got ready to come down here tonight. No, I'm talking about hard work. You know, Ditka didn't run a training camp. It was like he ran a penal colony. I mean, it was brutal. Today in the NFL, you can only put pads on 12 times during the entire season. 12 days of hitting. We would hit 14 times the first week. We prepared. To give you an illustration, a few years ago, I think it was 2016, the Bears made a big deal. I think it was at the end of the John Fox disaster that they made a big deal. They were going to go up and they were going to practice against the New England Patriots up in Foxborough. And I shook my head. I said, they don't know what they're doing. Sure enough, they go up there, and during the drills, our players kind of held their own, and, you know, there's some fighting and scrapping and all that. But we weren't embarrassed. But at the end of practice, our guys, they all go into the locker room. Tom Brady, he takes his receivers, Gronkowski, all of them. They go to the opposite end of the field. They spend 40 minutes running option routes, throwing passes into the end zone. What do you think the Bears' record was that season? It was 3-13. What do you think the Patriots' record was? 14-2. Tom Brady knew the importance of preparation. Talk about attitude. I was so fortunate to play on a team with the ultimate competitor. The great Walter Payton had the most dynamic attitude of anyone I ever met. And you say, well, you know, obviously he was a special running back. He was this, he was that. Folks, you don't, you know, after a game, you know, we're either black or white. Well, guess what? He was green and purple. Week after week after week after week after week, he never said a word. He had the most amazing attitude. He lifted us. We rode in his jet stream. Remember, successful people have common traits. They compliment, they don't criticize. They accept responsibility, they don't blame. They're resilient and they lead by example. So tonight, remember, your thoughts become your actions become habits. And those habits develop your character. And we know great character leads to excellence. And again, remember, Mike Ditka saying, if your word's no good, chances are you ain't either. But the one thing that kept that football team from doing some very special things was one position. And when I started tonight, I talked about that one position and drafting Caleb Williams and how special he will become and a part of this football team. But we didn't have that. Unfortunately, we had Jim McMahon, who played about 30% of the time. Women, if your husband went to work 30% of the time, how long would it last? Finally, by 1989, we had all gotten sick of him, and Dick had traded his ass, and I couldn't be happier. Well, a few years later, I get a note. He had left San Diego. Now McMahon was in Philadelphia. And the note said simply, "Hello, I have reserved 2 tickets for my opening game. Please come and bring a friend if you have one." I sent back a note. It said, "Impossible to make the opener. So sorry, duty calls. But I can make your second game if you have one." You know, Confucius always said, the nail that sticks out gets hammered. Well, that was McMahon. He went through life hammered. And you say, why are you bitter, Dan? I'll tell you why I'm bitter. That team, 1984 to 1988, those 5 years we won more games in 5 years span in the NFL than any team in NFL history. It has since been tied by 2 separate organizations, by the 49ers, quarterbacked by Joe Montana in every single game, and Tom Brady and the Patriots, where he quarterbacked the Patriots in every single game. Oh, by the way, that game, you know, the most games in 5 years, we had 7 different quarterbacks during that. So unfortunately, we did not have the most important player at the most important time. And that's why I am so excited about the new direction, the new day of the Chicago Bears. But we didn't, back then even, the quarterback probably wasn't as important as it is today, but it was still vitally important. But the one thing that really jumps out at me is the fact that if you are going to be a team of, what is this, the Bears listening to me? Is this the McKeskey into George's bedroom? Is that what it is? That's all right. Like Dick has said, tell the truth, right? But, you know, last year when Eberflus and Poles were screaming about taking back the North, I was rolling my eyes. Unfortunately, Mary Boyle, my boss at WGN of the Hampton OB show, I don't know where she's at here, but unfortunately, we knew early on they were in trouble. And yeah, we all saw the disaster that was looming. But this year, there's a lot of reasons to believe that we have turned a corner. Now, I will tell you this, you poor sports fans of Chicago, do you know the last time all 5 major sports had a winning season in this city? Do you know what year it was? My last year, 1990. That was it. That's 35 years ago. All 5 major teams had winning years. Of course, the Bears last year, they were only 6 games out of 3rd place in a 4-team division. Only 6 games. They were 9 games out of 2nd place. So they've got a lot of work. But to be a part of the team I was on, folks, you have no idea what it was like to be a part of history. And it was. And think about this. You know, Virginia, I was thinking about this during her service. Her father was the one that was part of the ownership when they selected me. My rookie year in 1979, George's son, he had a son, George Jr., they called him Muggsy, in Virginia. And my rookie year, the last game of the year, we had an outside chance to get to the playoffs if we win. And we were staying at the North Shore Hilton, another Hilton. By the way, this is the hotel we stayed in the night before football games. If these walls could talk, I'm telling you. And don't worry, if something catches on fire, I know 100 ways out of here, okay? Boy, they never got me on curfew here. But I remember I came down for breakfast, 7 o'clock. I said with Doug Plank, Gary Fencing, a few of the other guys, and they're acting weird. I said, what's up? They said, You didn't hear it? I said, no, Muggsy's dead. I said, what? Muggsy, 64 years old, died of a heart attack in the penthouse at the North Shore Hilton that night. I couldn't believe it. By the way, we went to Soldier Field. We got ready to play a game. We beat St. Louis 61-7 and made it to the playoffs. The second thing is Jim Finks was the general manager. Jim Finks is in the NFL Hall of Fame. By the way, Shane and I were talking, and he was telling me about his dad, not doing in the best of health. And I said, you know what, at some point, he's in Cleveland, and I was saying, hey, look, if you ever go and just see your dad and you want to go down to the Hall of Fame in Canton, if you've ever been there, Cleveland's here and Canton's just like an hour south. I said, I'll get you, a specialized tour and all that. He goes, oh, no, my dad, I've been there, and my dad's in the Hall of Fame. I said, what? Your dad's in the Hall of Fame? He goes, oh, no, he's in a picture with Otto Graham, but his picture's in the Hall of Fame. Didn't you? I said, well, your dad's in the... True story, just happened. Mike Ditka is in the NFL Hall of Fame, not only for being an amazing player, but for being an amazing coach. In fact, this wasn't the room that we would eat our Saturday night meal, the night before the game. But man, I would give anything to had a tape recorder in those meetings. What I got to tell you, I feel sorry for everyone else that ever played the game of football that didn't have the opportunity to listen to Mike Ditka tell you how much he hated Green Bay. It was fantastic. Oh, it was the greatest thing. But anyway, I'm running a little long here. But the one thing I want to tell you about is, life's short. I'll be 68 this fall. And like I said, I've been around the Bears a long time. And man, I can't thank the organization, the fans, you folks, for affording me the opportunity to have such an amazing life, being able to do what I was capable of doing, and how much I loved and cared about it. I went to see Mongo the other night. We all know he's got ALS. It's awful. It's awful. But I'll see Otis here pretty quick. Otis, like I said, I saw Dent and a few of the other guys. But those guys, they were special. But maybe the most poignant night I can ever recall. And this is the 40-year anniversary of the 85 team. So in some form or fashion, we're probably going to have some kind of a, reunion or this or that, or, if they were smart, they'd let us do a roast of Ditka. That would be priceless. But I'll never forget. I retired in 1990, and I went to work for NBC and all that. In 1995, the Bears said, we're going to have a reunion, a 10-year reunion of the great 85 World Championship team. And we're going to have it at Riva's down on Navy Pier. And at the time, I was so excited about seeing some of the guys because I was living down in Arkansas and I hadn't been here and I hadn't seen. And I made a point to get there early so I didn't miss anything. And I got there early, and some of the guys were coming in, and they were limping, and they were, pretty overweight. And some of these guys, their hair's falling out and this and that. But, man, it was great to see him. And about that time, Walter came pulling up in his Lamborghini. And he gets out, and it was like he was glowing. He looked perfect. He looked fantastic. And this was August of 1995. 4 short years later, I would be with 50,000 other Bear fans, actually Walter Payton fans, at Soldier Field in a testimonial tribute to my dear teammate. In 1995, he looked like $1 million, looked like he could go for 300 yards right now against the steel curtain. And 4 years later, he was gone. So I was telling Shane, his daddy's 82, as we leave here tonight, we know a couple of things. That I'm really excited about the Bears this coming season. Number two, it's only 1 year until the 100-year anniversary of the Better Business Bureau. And Steve, he's going to be the keynote speaker next year. But today, tomorrow, these days are precious, folks. Hug the one that you love. You know, so many people, they act like, life is, complicated. It's not. We only need 4 things in life to be happy. Something to do. I have a career. I do different things with broadcasting. I was so fortunate to be a football player for a little while. The second thing, we all need someone to love. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love so many people in my family, my friends, my loved ones. Number 3, something to believe in. I believe in my Savior, Jesus Christ. Find something that you care about and you believe in. But the 4th thing is something to hope for. Whatever happens, make sure that you care about what happens tomorrow. That's goals. That's your dreams. So take time. Think about it a little bit for your next 5 years or 10 years, whatever it may be. Whatever your business is doing right now, say if we could do 10% more, how much greater would that make all of us? How much more would it afford all of us? Set your goals high in life, but keep it simple. Remember, there are only 7 colors. In the whole spectrum, there's only 7 colors. But look what Rembrandt did with those colors. There's only 7 musical notes. Only 7. I play 6 instruments. I'm astounded that there's only 7 notes. It's true. But look what Beethoven did. Look what Milli Vanilli did with it. Yeah. And there's only 10 numbers. Remember what Bernie Madoff did with those 10 numbers, okay? But the one thing that I want to stress to you is how important it is to live each day. When I got to Arkansas, we weren't real good. Our coach stepped down. Lou Holtz came in, and he changed my life by teaching me to set goals, strive to be great. But the other part was he would tell us certain things that make you realize, hey, we're all on this big ball together trying to do the best we can. And we all had to learn this prayer, and I'll leave you with it tonight. Today is the beginning of a new day, and God has given me this day to use as I will. But what I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day out of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, leaving that in its place which I have traded for. I want it to be gain, not loss, good, not evil, success, not failure, in order that I shall never regret the high price I've paid for it. Because in the end, the future's nothing more than a whole string of nows. God bless you. Have a great year. And the Bears are going to kick some ass this year. Thank you for having me, Steve. 99 years.